What does it mean when Hollywood forgets someone? Not because they failed, not because they self-destructed, but simply because the machine moved on and left them standing exactly where they always were. That's not a fall from grace. That's something quieter and somehow sadder. John Cusack was born on June 28, 1966, in Evanston, Illinois, into a household that treated ideas like currency. Books, politics, film, art. These weren't hobbies in his home. They were the daily language. Most kids grow up wanting to be famous. Cusack grew up wanting to be interesting. That distinction would shape every choice he ever made in front of a camera. He arrived in Hollywood during the 1980s and immediately looked wrong for the room. Not in a bad way, in an honest way. While other young actors projected an almost supernatural confidence, his characters seemed to be working things out in real time, uncertain, searching, a little rumpled around the edges. Films like The Sure Thing, Better Off Dead, and Stand By Me didn't launch him because he was the coolest person on screen. They landed because he felt like someone you actually knew. Then came Say Anything, and that boombox scene didn't become iconic because it was romantic. It became iconic because Lloyd Dobler was terrified, and he did it anyway. People remember courage that looks like fear far longer than they remember courage that looks like a movie poster. What set Cusack apart through the 1990s was his refusal to be managed into a brand. He co-wrote Grosse Point Blank, a film too strange and self-aware to be easily marketed. He gave himself completely to being John Malkovich, a story so bizarre that most leading men of his caliber would have run from it. And then in 2000, High Fidelity arrived, a film about a man paralyzed by his own emotional immaturity, cataloging his failures like vinyl records in a shop nobody else wanted to visit. It should not have worked. It worked completely, because Rob Gordon wasn't aspirational. He was confessional. And an entire generation saw themselves in that confession. Then the industry quietly rearranged itself around a different kind of story. Franchises. Universes. Spectacle built for global markets that couldn't afford nuance in translation. The thoughtful, dialogue-heavy, character-driven films that gave Cusack his entire career didn't disappear overnight. They just slowly stopped getting greenlit. And here's the painful irony. He hadn't changed. The map had changed, and his landmark was no longer on it. But legacy doesn't ask for permission. The movies he made still find new people every year. Young adults watching Say Anything for the first time, feeling that specific longing he carried so effortlessly across the screen. What Cusack built wasn't a franchise. It was a feeling. The feeling that confusion is survivable, that imperfection is worth watching, and that sometimes the most heroic thing a person can do is simply refuse to pretend they have all the answers. In a world full of superheroes, that kind of honesty never really goes out of style.